We've got coaching changes going on. We've got guys entering the portal left and right already. But on this episode, we are finally going to break down the first four matchups of the 2025 college football playoff. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. As always, make sure you like the video on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple and Spotify as well. Make sure you follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. We appreciate you guys. Playoff preview brought to you by Frost Buddy. Head over to frostbuddy.com/ATB. I believe you can even punch in ATB on the promo code at checkout. Someone told me that the other day as well. That's great. Get yourself some awesome can and bottle koozies. They have every single playoff team with the exception of Tulane. For all you Tulane fans, you can head over to homefieldapparel.com. Type in the promo code ATB15 at checkout. Get 15% off of some awesome Green Wave shirts. Some of their designs are some of their most popular, like that Tulane Green Wave is just so popular over there at homefieldapparel.com. And then once again, frostbuddy.com/ATB. Type in the promo code ATB at checkout. Pick out some good Christmas gifts for some friends and family. Lance, let's head right into it, man. We're going to go in chronological order here, which means we're going to start Friday night in Norman, Oklahoma, Alabama at Oklahoma. Right now, I saw where you could even, the consensus is Alabama -1.5. There are some books out there that have Alabama +1.5 for like -120. It's almost a pick 'em. Like the money line's -110, -106. Like it's almost a pick 'em anywhere you look. This game's going to kick off at 8 o'clock on ABC. I did see where the high on Friday is going to be 58 now. The low on Friday night's 45 with about 16-mile-per-hour winds. So a little gusty there. You and I were talking about it can get gusty there on the plains of Norman, Oklahoma. OU is one of the few teams that can kind of say like they own Alabama. Like they're 5-2-1 all time against the Tide. Obviously, they're 2-0 the past two seasons when Venables has been there and when Kalen DeBoer has been there. Oklahoma's been the underdog in the past four in this series. They've covered all four. Just kind of jumping right into the game, man. Just overall arching theme. I think it's going to be like a slog. I just think both these teams really struggle to run the ball because both the opposing defenses are really good. Oklahoma's got that ridiculous frontline D-line that is just very, very good and very solid at stopping opponents' run games. I think the big thing that jumps out to me, obviously, other than turnovers, which I'm sure we'll talk about because these teams just played a month ago, is just field position, man. I think field position is going to be absolutely crucial in this game as it was in the first. OU has the weapons, man. Like if they get to, again, how windy it is, I don't know. If they get to the 38, 40-yard line, they got that kicker with a missile on his leg that can kick those 55, 56-yarders. So that's where they really have the real advantage in the field position, in my opinion. You're muted. You hit your microphone.
Yeah, man. Tate Sindel is 23 for 24 on the season, including 7 for 7 beyond 50 yards on the year. So, yeah, you're right. He is absolutely a weapon, man. And he was incredible against Alabama in this first matchup. But I actually want to start with a little something kind of like off the field, not really the matchup itself. You were talking about how, Oklahoma has really, owned Alabama in this series, and especially the last 2 years. Venables is 2-0 against DeBoer. And there was something, though, that is aligned in that matchup in the last 2 years, in that Brent Venables and Oklahoma had a bye week before both games against Alabama. And Alabama was playing LSU before they were playing Oklahoma in the two matchups. And this time around, Alabama has extra time to prepare for the game. Basically a bye week coming off the SEC championship game with a week to prepare, extra week to prepare for this game. So again, Brent Venables and Oklahoma had a bye week before the last two matchups against Alabama, and Brent Venables' defense made some things happen, forced turnovers, and really owned Alabama in those two matchups. Kalen DeBoer, when he has extra time to prepare, is a combined 12-2 as a head coach at Washington and Alabama, and that includes 2 wins over Dan Lanning. That includes in Oregon. That includes a win over number 10th ranked Oregon State. That includes 2 wins over Sark and Texas, 2 wins over Kirby Smart and Georgia, and 2 wins over Brian Kelly and LSU. The 2 losses were actually Michigan in the bowl game last year, and then Florida State, just first game this year. So again, 12-2 combined when he's got extra time to prepare. So obviously there's something going on there with him and Ryan Grubb, because obviously Grubb was with him the majority of that time as well. So going to be interesting to see now with Alabama with extra time to prepare what they can do to try to combat against that Brent Venables defense and all the things that has obviously caused them trouble in the last 2 matchups. So you're right, though, man. It really starts with Oklahoma's defense, dude. I mean, they're number 1 in sacks and tackles for a loss. They're top 5 rush defense. That front 7 is as dominant as it gets in college football. And the thing that's more impressive, man, I mean, you've talked about this at many matchups this year with teams. When we talk about these teams that are ranked so high at a certain thing, whether it's rush D, pass D, passing offense, rushing offense, whatever that may be, Oklahoma has been tested against some really good offenses with that top 5 rush D. They played Ole Miss, Mizzou, and Tennessee are all ranked really high in rushing offense. Tennessee had 35 carries for 63 yards. That's 1.8 yards a carry. Ole Miss had 41 carries for 116 yards. That's 2.8 yards per carry. And Mizzou with Ahmad Hardy had 35 carries for 70 yards. That's 2 yards per carry. So they're shutting some of the best teams running the football down. We all know that Alabama cannot run the football. So I don't think that, again, they're just all of a sudden going to find themselves running the football this week against this Oklahoma defensive front. And now
They got to try.
They've got to try. I do think that they will run it some to try to keep Oklahoma somewhat honest. And we talked about that against like Kirby Smart and Georgia, like the times that Alabama's played them over the last few years. And I've heard, you listen to like different coaches talk about this and the old Nick Saban Alabama defenses, even against Brent Venables when he was a DC at Clemson back in the day. Teams knew they couldn't run the football against those defensive fronts, but you did it just trying to get positive yardage, trying to stay ahead of the chains, but mostly to try to keep that defense honest. So they had to at least somewhat respect it, that you were at least going to try to do it. And so, but on the flip side of the whole rush D thing, Oklahoma this year has faced certain teams that can throw the football and can throw the football well. And they've actually had some success against them. Tennessee threw the football well against them. Alabama threw the football well against them. And Ole Miss threw the football well against them. All 3 of those teams are the top passing offenses that Oklahoma has faced this year. They all 3 threw for over 300 yards, well over 300 yards. This Oklahoma defense, man, I mean, let's just call it what it is. In the 2 games that they lost, they were -4 in the turnover margin. In the biggest games that they won, against their 3 biggest games that they won this year, they were +6 in the turnover margin in those games against the 3 best teams that they played. So obviously we know what happened in the first matchup against Alabama. Oklahoma won the turnover battle 3-0. Alabama's offense went up and down the field against them in that game. Like I went back, I texted you the other day. We were talking about it. I said, dude, go look at the drive charts between these 2 teams in that first matchup. Oklahoma had 1 drive. It was like 8 plays for 40-something yards, and it ended in a field goal from the 34-yard line. That was the only drive they had that entire game. Everything else was the defense forcing turnovers and field position battles against Alabama in that game. Alabama had multiple drives where they were driving up and down the field. They just couldn't stop shooting themselves in the foot with either a missed field goal at the end of the first half. That we all know what happened there. That was when Talty afterwards chewed out his long snapper or the center for that bad snap. And they had the turnovers. The pick six happened, I think, when it was on Oklahoma's 18-yard line. And they had the strip sack fumble that happened when the Ty Simpson fumble when they sacked him. And they had a free rusher and blitzer that sacked him. And then they had the punt return where Ron Williams fumbled the ball and they punched it out on the punt return for Ron Williams. So field position, turnovers, all that stuff's going to play a huge role in this game. I want to emphasize one more time on the field position. This was something else I looked at into this matchup. In the first matchup against Oklahoma, Bama never started a drive past their own 30-yard line. Oklahoma had 4 drives that started inside Bama territory, and their average starting field position for Oklahoma was at the 43-yard line. In the SEC championship game, Alabama against Georgia, Every single drive for Alabama started inside their own 25. UGA had 3 drives that started in Bama territory, and their average starting field position was the 41-yard line. So in both of those matchups that Alabama lost and really struggled offensively, it's not hard to figure that out, bro. The other team was basically starting at midfield, and Alabama was starting inside their own 30 and inside their own 25-yard line every single possession.
I mean, yeah, to me, you're citing a pattern. It's becoming a pattern
In
now.
those 2 games, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case in other games, but in those 2
It
games,
wasn't the case in the
absolutely.
first half of the season, but something's happened in this back half of the season where Ty's become a little more inaccurate throwing the ball. They've had, just some games where, the wide receivers have struggled. They've obviously missed Josh Cuevas as a tight end role. Whatever people think of Jam Miller, they miss him blocking out of the backfield. He can at least catch out of the backfield, where I think Daniel Hill's got brick hands out of the backfield on those swing passes. So that doesn't really do him any favors, obviously, on the completion percentage. But on the turnover side of the ball with like Oklahoma, you talked about, in their biggest game, the biggest wins, they were +6. They had 3 turnovers against LSU, and they still won that game. It's
Mhm,
year through 3 interceptions. They still figured out to win that
mhm.
win that game. They had 2 turnovers against Tennessee on the road in Knoxville. They just forced 3. They
Yep,
were able to get that.
yep.
They lost a turnover battle to Auburn at home. They lost a turnover battle 2-0 to Michigan earlier in the year. So they're still finding ways to win games. And I think, like, again, they realize that I don't know if it's Mateer's hand or what it is, like, when his hand got hurt, but like they know they can't do much on offense. They know they've got that kicker. Whereas if they just get that ball to that 35-yard line or the 40-yard line, he's very able to just put the points on the board. They know their defense is killer. So like those Missouri and those LSU games to end the year where they put up 17 points, they're fine with that. Like they're just like, yeah, I mean, let's put up 17 points. Let's let our defense do its job. Their offense is predicated on breaking one big play a game. They can break one big play a game, get Isaiah Satenga, 87-yard touchdown against Missouri, right? One big play game, Alabama has to be able to stop the minimal explosives that Oklahoma is going to try to hit. They're going to try to hit those crossing patterns. They've got to be able to keep everybody in front of them. They let one of those go, and you let Oklahoma jump out to an early lead, or if it's 3-3 and it's a slog, and you're humming through that second quarter, and it gets down to 2 to 3 minutes, and all of a sudden they hit one for like 60 yards, like that's just it. Those are backbreakers against a team with Oklahoma's caliber of defense.
Agreed. The turnovers get majorly emphasized against Oklahoma because of how good their defense really is. I mean, you can't
Yeah,
give like extra possessions against them. You've got to make your possessions count for sure, especially in that first matchup again. Alabama, when you look at the drive charts, they had well over 400 yards of offense against Oklahoma in that game. They went up and down the field. They just weren't finishing drives. And you
yeah,
can't do that against this team
no,
with how good they are defensively. And you hit the nail on the head, man, about the explosive plays. Isaiah Sategna has 18 plays on the year of 20 plus yards, which is
yeah,
among the leaders in all of college football. He's one of the SEC leading receivers, but the majority of his like catches and his overall plays are all explosive plays. The explosive play that he had against Missouri, the explosive play that he had against LSU. I mean, they
yeah,
were losing that game there at the end of the game, late in that fourth quarter. And then they had that deep ball go route down the sideline where he ended up getting butt naked down the sideline and Mateer hit him. And that ended up winning that game for them against LSU late in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, Alabama has to limit the explosive play with Satania. And Oklahoma has struggled mightily this year with their ability to like sustain drives. That's not been their offense this year. They can't run the football. Their offensive line was, I mean, trash last year. Now it's just bad. Now their
yeah,
offensive line is just bad. It's improved year over year, but it's still not very good. And yeah, they have trouble sustaining drives. They've got to hit explosive plays. And like you said, they've got that weapon with Tate Sandell that if they just basically get to the opponent's, 35-yard
yeah,
line or even 40-yard line, they're within
yeah,
striking distance and field goal range. That is where the win that you're talking about, interesting to see if it does play a role. I have no idea.
yeah,
Sandell might just kick that son of a you-know-what through the wind like it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Because again, he's 23 for 24 on the year. But if that is a problem, that could be an issue for Oklahoma because they have been a lot of their points, man, have been
yeah,
coming off of. hey, we're going to get down inside this area. They're not great in the red zone in scoring. They're not great at sustaining drives, but they kick field goals. Like you said, they're scoring 17 to 20 points, and that's enough
Yeah.
with that defense.
So speaking of points, totals 40.5. How many points do you think like can win this game realistically?
I'm still gonna say it's somewhere like, dude, it could be first one to 20 wins.
Yeah.
It really could. It could be first one to 20 because, dude, all of the talk about this Oklahoma defense, and they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. I just gave you all the numbers about like number one in sacks, number one in tackles for a loss, top 5 rush defense, top 10 overall scoring defense and points allowed. Like every single third down conversions, they're one of the best defenses on first down. Like I was looking that up. They're one of the best defenses in the country at making you be second and long, and they're one of the best defenses on third down and getting you off the field on third down. It's not really hard to figure that out. They're making
Yeah.
you being second and long, then you're in third and not manageable. Then you're predictable and having to throw the football. And Venables is dialing up these exotic pressures, and they don't even really have to dial up exotic pressures though because of how good that front seven is. And they're
Yeah.
creating negative plays. So they're getting you behind the chains. So that's the reason why that defense is so good. But dude, Alabama's top 10 in the country in 17.3 points per game, like a points allowed. They're top 20 in third down defense. They're 11th in first down defense, like we were talking about earlier with Oklahoma. They're top 5 in passing yards allowed. So, and then on the flip side of that, Alabama is 11th in the country at average time of possession. That goes back to what I've been saying all year, that Alabama's offense is not
Yeah.
explosive at all. They're
Yeah.
not. Strange when they have some of the athletes that they have, and they have the capability with a quarterback of Ty Simpson. Even when he was hot earlier in the year, and everybody was everybody was talking about him being a Heisman candidate and things like that. When he was hot earlier in the year during that 4-game stretch where Alabama ripped off 4 wins against at that time ranked opponents, they weren't explosive then either. They were controlling the clock,
Yeah.
controlling the ball with a short passing game, keeping the other team's offense off the field. Their defense was forcing Alabama's defense was forcing turnovers, keeping the other teams out of the end zone, and they were just winning games, scoring kind of in the high 20s and whatnot. So a- against the elite defenses, I think this is probably part of the problem the last 2 years for Alabama against Oklahoma. Dude, against Brent Venables' Oklahoma defense, against Kirby Smart's Georgia defense, against this Ohio State defense that's in this tournament, that's in this playoff, probably the Indiana defense as well, as good as they are, the Bryant Haynes defense. And I'll probably stop there. You're not going to consistently be able to sustain long drives and
Yeah.
score points against those defenses like consistently. You're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You've got to have the ability to hit some explosive plays, man. And again, it's a new season. You flush down the toilet what's happened so far this year. It doesn't matter what you did previously. It's all about what's going forward. Can Alabama find something in the explosive passing game with maybe a Ryan Williams or an Isaiah Horton or a Jeremy Menard? I don't know, but they need to.
Yeah, it's such an interesting contrast in this game because you talk about the team names, Alabama, Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and they're both blue bloods of college football, obviously. But like, I think if you ask anybody, not including Tulane, JMU, like who are the 2 teams that like you feel least confident going into this playoff? These are the 2 teams right here by far.
Yeah.
Like I think people feel more confident in Miami than they do these 2 teams. And it's just you're just so not used to seeing that, man. Like it's just a contrast. Like I just that offense that Alabama had that first half of the season, this offense they're putting out there right now over the past month is just not inspiring
Mhm.
anybody. And
Yeah.
so that's why with this spread so thin, it's basically a pick 'em game. Like on paper, it has the chance to be, out of these first 2 years of the 12-team playoff, it has a chance to be the best first round game on paper. Last year, if you remember, we had, the Notre Dame, Indiana blowout, Penn State, SMU, Texas, Clemson, and then Ohio State, Tennessee. Like, so, I don't think any of those games were, within a couple points on the spread. So it's got a chance to be a really good game in Norman on Friday night.
Yeah, you're right, man, and I would imagine it's going to be a defensive slugfest, and that's because neither one of these offenses have been anything to write home about, and their defenses all have been both fantastic. I just gave you all the numbers on what they've looked
Yeah.
like. Also, too, just some injury updates. I mean, R. Mason Thomas is not 100% like listed that he's going to play, but I've seen a plenty of videos on social media. That dude looks like he's absolutely going to play. He looks
Yeah, I mean, they've had and Mateer too, like, they've had longer time to prep for this game. That's where, like, the benefit almost too of, like, not going to the SEC championship game for them, and they get to host a game. It's just, everyone's like, "Oh, Alabama didn't get punished." I mean, if you really, like, look at it, they played an extra game, and they gotta go on the road to Norman this Friday night. Like, that's not necessarily, just the Tide getting handed, like, a gift of gifted schedule here.
no, not at all. Not at all. But both of these teams, both of these coaching staffs who have a lot of really obviously, big time coaches on each staff, going to have extra time to prep for each other. So I'm interested to see what the cat and mouse game looks like there. What obviously these two teams are already playing each other just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
What adjustments do they make from that matchup? Alabama had an issue. Stop me if you've heard this before. The offensive line allowing free rushers at Ty Simpson. That's happened in multiple games this year. That has caused some of the sack fumbles that Ty has had in some of these matchups. Like I know some of them are his fault, but dude, some of them, especially the one against Oklahoma. I mean, dude, he's standing there and there is a free blitzer coming on his blind side that he has no idea that's coming that absolutely just blows him up.
And R.
And
Mason Thomas didn't play in that first game, right?
correct. R. Mason Thomas
Yeah.
did not play in that game. So their best defensive lineman and pass rusher,
Yeah.
I would imagine, again, based off the videos that I've been seeing on social media, he's going to play in this game. As far as
Yeah.
Alabama's concerned, their defensive lineman, LT Overton, I don't understand in this day and time in 2025 how nobody knows exactly what's going on. He's had a illness
Did they say he
for
was doubtful?
yeah,
It was like
doubt.
mono or
Yeah,
something?
I have no idea. Nobody, dude. I haven't seen a single. I've asked so many people,
Yeah.
and not even on message boards. I've asked my buddies of mine that are like on the message boards there for Alabama on Tighter Insider. I've been asking them like,
Yeah.
what's going on with him. Nothing. I've seen nothing.
Hmm.
So he missed the Georgia game for illness. And then 3 weeks later, he's doubtful due to illness. So I have no idea if it's actually an illness or if it's something else going on that they're just keeping under the vest behind, closed doors. I have
Yeah.
no idea. But him not playing, that hurts. He's one of their better defensive linemen, but they've got some solid depth at that position. The main two that need to be playing are Josh Cuevas, tight end for Alabama, who's been honestly one of their best weapons this year, but he's really helpful in blocking and being on that end of the line of scrimmage to be able to help those tackles with an R. Mason Thomas and with some of those other guys that Oklahoma is going to be bringing off the edges that are some of the best pass rushers in college football. And then Jam Miller. Look, Jam Miller's not going to, set any records with his rushing abilities, and he's not an elite running back by any means, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can help you extend some drives. He's better at blocking overall than the other tailbacks are. I mean, and he does provide some depth. It'll allow it to where the true freshman AK Deer doesn't have to come in for Alabama. I mean, he played against Georgia, and there was a key play in that game early on where Simpson ran an RPO and he turned around to put the ball in his belly, and Deer went the wrong direction and went to go block the defensive end,
Yeah.
and Ty got blown up in the blew up in the
Yeah.
backfield.
Yeah.
So those kind of things won't be happening if Jam Miller is playing, which it looks like
Yeah.
he's going to play, and it looks like Cuevas is going to play. So the last thing on this, John Mateer in the first game, we talked about how his running ability, because Alabama over the years, even dating back to the Nick Saban years and this Kane Womack defense, they've shown times that they've struggled with the QB run game. This is as healthy as Mateer has been all year. No question, especially since his broken hand, probably since the Michigan game. And we
They're
saw
gonna run the
him.
crap out of him if this could be the last game of the year.
Yes, they ran the piss out of him against Michigan this year. He had I think 18 carries in that game. I don't
Yeah.
have the box score right in front of me, but it was a lot of carries.
Yeah.
With Oklahoma's inability to really run the football from the tailback position, and especially against his Alabama defense,
But he didn't run a lot in the first game, did he?
he didn't, and I'm pretty sure he had
Yeah.
a rushing touchdown against Alabama that was a kind of like a 15, 20-plus yard run.
Up the middle, yeah.
Yeah, the against
Broken
him.
play.
So, he didn't run it a ton, but he
Yeah.
did enough damage in that game with
Yeah.
that touchdown. I think you're gonna see him run the ball a lot this
Yeah.
year. His touchdown to interception ratio and his inconsistencies in the passing game, and Alabama's pass defense is really good. Their DBs matched up against Oklahoma's, their vision coverage that they do. I would imagine that Oklahoma is going to try to run Mateer, like you said. It could be the last game of the year. what's the phrase from the movie Waterboy? Last game of the year, can't hold anything back now. Yeah, I think that's what you're going to get with
Yeah.
Batir in this game,
Yeah.
in this spot. So, all right, man, let's do some game picks. Who you got?
I went back and forth a lot. And when this first matchup was first released, I mean, I just was so super low on Oklahoma, like going into the season. Like they looked okay against Missouri. They looked awful against LSU at that last game. They could have lost that game. They could have been knocked out of the playoffs. And then on the other side, like, what we've seen the first half of the year from Alabama was a lot of promise and like a team that was top 5 in the country. You're like, man, this team could really make a run this year, do some damage in the playoffs. And then ever since, the South Carolina game and then like just the performances have not necessarily been inspiring. And then they capped it off with, the Georgia game. So I went back and forth in this game. I don't think Oklahoma obviously is going to win that turnover battle again 3-0. I mean, that's super unlikely. Like we talked about that in the Texas Tech BYU game, and Texas Tech ended up, you know, owning the turnover battle again in the Big 12 championship. I just don't think that's super likely. I think that Alabama's really going to have an emphasis on taking care of the ball this time around. But again, I don't think Oklahoma needs to. Like they did that on the road. Like they're at home now. Like, again, if they win the turnover battle by 1, maybe 2, that gives them enough right there. I think it's a low scoring game. And yeah, I went back and forth, man. And I think it's a 19-16 victory for the Sooners.
Okay. Is that a best bet?
It's not. I'm not betting a dime on this game unless it's on the under or like a teaser.
Yeah. So that score you've got there is under. I think the total right now is 40 and a half.
And I got 19-16, so I mean I'm leaning under there.
Okay, I got you.
I expect a lot of field goals, a lot of stops in the red zone by both teams.
Yep. Fine. And it'll be, if there's a lot of red zone trips, that means teams are moving the ball against each other, which I'll actually be. So I don't even know there's going to be a ton of red zone trips.
Yeah.
I think it could end up being a field position defensive battle.
My first score prediction in my head was like 13-10.
Could be. And it really could be as good as these defenses are. I do have a best bet in this game, and I'm taking Alabama on the money line at -112 is what I got it at. So I've got Alabama on the money line to win this game at -112. Again, Brent Venables had extra time to prepare, had a bye week before Alabama the last 2 times he played against Kalen DeBoer. This time, Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama team has extra time to prepare for this Oklahoma game. They're not coming off playing an LSU game. Kalen DeBoer being a combined 12-2 with extra time to prepare. Kalen DeBoer has only lost back-to-back games twice in his entire career as a head coach. I do think Oklahoma's defense obviously is nasty and will cause problems for Alabama. I don't think Alabama's going to have a ton of success in the running game, but the first time around, Alabama went up and down the field throwing the football. Ty Simpson had around 340 yards passing. I think that this Alabama offense will be able to find some success throwing the football. Oklahoma has shown against the better offenses, they will shut down your running game, but they can be had a little bit in the passing game if you've got a good passing game. Tennessee did it. Ole Miss did it. Alabama did it earlier this year in their matchup. If Alabama loses the turnover battle 2 or 3-0 again, they're probably going to lose this game. So it comes down to Alabama's got to do better in the field position battle, not lose the turnover battle. And I just trust their offense more than I trust the Oklahoma offense. Oklahoma's offense has been booty since game 1. Alabama's offense at least showed a lot of promise half the season. It was the back half of the season they didn't. But again, with extra time to prepare with DeBoer and Grubb, I think Alabama's going to win this game. And again, I'm with you. It's going to be a lower scoring game, 20-17, 20-16, 17-13, something like that. I can't see this game going over the total.
It's interesting. Most people in the postseason trust defenses more than offenses.
Yeah.
You're going trusting the offense. All right. I like it.
I mean, I trust Alabama's offense more than I trust Oklahoma's offense, but like I trust Alabama's defense in this matchup. Again, Alabama's got a top 10 defense, like by the numbers, and Oklahoma's offense is booty too. So I think that Alabama's defense can slow down Oklahoma's offense, and I trust Alabama's offense more than I trust Oklahoma's offense.
I just hope it's a good game on Friday night. That's all I ask for.
You just hope both teams have fun.
No injury.
There you go.
All right, let's head to Saturday at noon on ABC, noon Eastern. The 10 seed Miami Hurricanes traveling down to College Station for the second time in a couple years here to face off with the Texas A&M Aggies, the number 7 seed. Aggies 3.5-point favorites. Like I said, Miami 3-2 all time against the Aggies. They won one time in College Station before, I think back in 2008 or so. A lot of coaching movement on the A&M side. I think Colin Klein will be coaching in this game. A lot of the coaches who have moved on to bigger and better jobs are still coaching in the playoffs, save for Lane Kiffin. We'll talk about his team here in a second. But Colin Klein is going to be coaching the offense here, so no changes there.
And the Texas A&M defensive coordinator, which we know he doesn't call the defense, Mike Elko does. Bateman, I believe, is his name. He's also gone to become the defensive coordinator somewhere else as well. So, but again, they're both going to be coaching in this game. But Elko calls the defense, so that's not that big. That's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, first two things I always look at, like in these matchups, these late season, postseason matchups, I look at turnovers, I look at penalties. A&M is 102nd in turnover margin. So I they are thankful they're playing this game at home. We watched that South Carolina game, them getting a 27-point hole at home. If that game was anywhere else other than College Station, they would not have come back and won that game.
Dude, A&M's only got 3 interceptions on the entire season.
Yeah.
We talk about how
who loves to throw interceptions,
right? Well, you got bipolar Carson Beck. Like, either going to have good back,
figure out which guy's going to show up,
right? Good back or bad back, and obviously, we'll start there, man. I mean, the 2 losses for Miami, he threw 6 interceptions combined in those 2 games. He threw 4 picks against Louisville, and he threw 2 picks against SMU. So you're right, man. The turnover margin deal is wild there. Miami is one of the best in the country in the turnover margin, I believe. I had the number here somewhere.
They're definitely up there. Penalties, I mean, both teams are atrocious at penalties. Miami's 130th in penalties a game. A&M's 124th.
Yep.
So depending on what kind of crew you get, there might be a lot of yellow flags on the field.
Here we go. Miami's tied for 8th in the country at +9 in the turnover margin.
Yeah, so they're pretty solid. Again, though, they've been playing against those ACC schools.
Outside of Notre Dame, their non-conference at the beginning of the year, they played some solid opponents. But yes, overall, the competition in the ACC is not as I think even Miami would say that it's just not what it is in these other conferences.
Yeah, and even when we talk about Miami and their schedule, like we talked about the whole year, they didn't leave the state of Florida until November 1st.
Yep,
and they did win some road games. Coming down the stretch at Virginia Tech and Pitt, but they lost that game against SMU, who was a solid team. And now they're going on the road to College Station and Kyle Field, 100,000+ fans. I don't care what time that game starts. Like, they are going to be rowdy.
Can you guess the biggest crowd that Miami's played in front of this year on the road?
I'm going to say 54,000.
Doak Campbell, 67,000.
Doak Campbell. I forgot about Doak Campbell.
Yeah,
they played in Miami.
Doak Campbell, 67,000, and they're going to be playing in front of 103,000 at College Station at Kyle Field this weekend. That's I don't know how much that's going to matter or not once the game starts, but that's going to be interesting to see how Miami handles that. If the game is obviously what we think it's going to be, somewhat highly contested, A&M, if they're playing well and whatnot, like how Miami handles that with a communication standpoint offensively, because they haven't seen anything like that this year, man.
Yeah, and it's going to be how does the coaching staff handle that? How does Mario Cristobal handle that? And we'll get into the coaching matchup here in a little bit. But if we start on the offensive side of the ball, obviously you got Marcel Reed and Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion. Like, those guys are explosive on the offensive side of the ball. Miami's got their own explosive guys. Malachi Toney, one of those stud freshman wide receivers we're starting to see every single year. Like, this could be a game where, like, you could see a lot of this could be similar to that Notre Dame A&M game in South Bend, 41-40. I'm not saying that's going to be 80 points put up in a playoff game, but I just think you're going to see a lot of throwing the ball, a lot of passes, because I don't know. I think A&M's running game, if they get Le'Veon Moss back, I think they could have more success on the ground than Miami can have against A&M's front seven. Against their defensive line with their running game. So I think this game is going to fall for Miami. It's going to fall onto Carson Beck's shoulders.
Yeah, and I honestly, man, when I took a deep dive into this matchup, it made me like, so let's think back to this. Do you remember earlier in the year after that Notre Dame game, after Miami won that game, after they just destroyed a very hot South Florida team at the time? South Florida spanked Boise. Then they beat Florida at the Swamp. And then they went to Miami, and Miami just absolutely undressed them
Yeah.
down there in Miami Gardens. And then like Miami at one point during the year, I think it was after the Florida State game, there were a lot of people talking, is Miami the best team in the country?
Yeah.
That was a debate at that time. Who's the best team in the country? Is it Ohio State? Is it Miami? And
There
then
were some people saying at that time that Carson Beck was the best quarterback in the country.
there are some people that was out there saying that. I don't know who out there would have said something like that at that time, but there was some people out there. I admit it. That was me. There's a video out there of me saying at that time of the year, nobody was playing the quarterback position better than Carson Beck, and that the
Yeah.
haters were really quiet at that time. But my
Yeah.
goodness, in ATB fashion, a week later, the haters came out of the woodworks with that four interception deal
Yep.
coming off a bye week.
Whew.
Miami was hot as could be. They're coming off a bye week, playing Louisville at home. Huge game there in the ACC as far as the ACC standings were concerned. And then Beck just fell apart.
Yeah.
Miami defense still played well in that game. They just couldn't stop throwing picks. But that's what I wanted to get to as far as like the matchup is concerned. Like both of these teams are built very, very good on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Miami's offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the country. The Maroon Goons at Texas A&M, one of the better offensive lines in the country. They're both fantastic of not giving up QB pressures. They're both fantastic of not like the whatever the stat is about like before your running back actually gets hit, before like when they hand the ball up before they get hit. Both offensive lines are really good in that statistical category as well, and they're both really good along the defensive lines. A&M is one of the best teams in the country. They're like they're tied for first in the country in tackles for a loss with Oklahoma. They're top 5 in sacks. Cassius Howell's got 11 and a half sacks on the year, which is among the best in the country. And Miami, you're talking about the Texas A&M running game. Obviously, if Le'Veon Moss is back, that's going to help a ton because they've got a ton of depth at that position with Reuben Owens, with Amari Daniels, with E.J. Smith. And yeah, I mean, if they've got 3 or 4 guys they can run at you behind that Maroon Goons with Marcel Reed in the dual threat run game as well, that's going to help a ton. But dude, Miami's 6th in the Power 4 in rush D.
Mm-hmm.
And again, okay, well, somebody want to say, well, who's that against? Well, they pretty much shut down Notre Dame.
Don't get me started on the play calling in that game.
Agreed, but they did. They Notre Dame had around 28, 29 carries in that game and didn't run for much at all. Florida State, say what you want about Florida State being a terrible football team, that's fine, but I agree. But they can run the football. That Gus Malzahn offense can run the ball, and at that time, Florida State was running the ball really well early in the season. They completely shut down that group as well. There's some other teams they faced too. They like Jaden Ball at Florida, completely shut him down and shut Florida down. I believe really the only team that had success was Isaac Brown at Louisville. Did run for over 100 yards against them, but still the overall yards per carry that Louisville had in that game was low. That's why
Yeah, even in the SMU game, like SMU didn't do anything till overtime when they ran for 25 yards there.
No. So Miami's built very good at the line of scrimmage to be able to like stand up against A&M and be able to take a fight to them in College Station. It really does come down for Miami about Carson Beck. Like if the good version of Carson Beck shows up, Miami can win this football game. They match up, I think, fine with them. They've got good tailbacks. They've got really good group of wide receivers. I mean, Malachi Tony's one of the best wide receivers and one of the most exciting players in all of college football.
Yep.
I actually looked into this because I was like, he's got to be among the leaders in yards after the catch. He literally leads the nation. He's number 1 in the nation in yards after the catch. And also, too, Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion are ranked up there really high as well of yards after the catch for Texas A&M. But Malachi Tony and C.J. Daniels and Keelan Marion, freshman Joshua Moore and JoJo Trader, that's a good group of wide receivers for Miami that's going to be able to test that A&M secondary as long as they can give Beck time. So, in injury updates, Keontae Scott, DB for Miami, was their best defensive back. During that run when Miami was playing really good throughout the year, Keontae Scott, I believe he transferred from Auburn actually, was playing at a really high level for them. He got hurt, a pretty significant injury, leg injury at the end of the year. They didn't think he was going to be back. Everything I've read this week is he's practicing this week, and Mario Cristobal said it looks like he's going to be able to go this week against A&M. And they got a defensive lineman that I believe that transferred in Louisiana Tech. One of those deals, a kind of late transfer. I mean, you talk about every year that can make a difference for a team. David Blade Jr., a bunch of people wanted him. Big, big, big dude that plays in the middle of that defensive line. In between Messidor and Ruben Bain. He's supposed to be back this week as well. They're both training to be back. So that's huge for that Miami defense, for them to be all hands on deck against this A&M offense. So my question to you is, can Marcel Reed, we've seen him turn the ball over as well.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen him turn the ball over as well. Can Marcel Reed in this Texas A&M offense, like, I think they've got to be able to have success running the football. Do you think they will be able to have success running the football against this Miami front?
Oh man, I think they're gonna have to use Marcel Reed's legs for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
They are gonna have to get him involved. Colin Klein's gonna have to get him creative. They're gonna have to. I think they're gonna use a lot of screen game to start off the game to try to loosen up the defense, to loosen up that D line. Use some screen games to Craver and Concepcion out there, even Amari Daniels out there, something like that. They, it gets those linemen chasing, right? It gets those defensive, that Bain and Mesidor, they gets them chasing those guys out there to try to make tackles. And then you come back, you try to run at them, you try to do that, and those add up. And over the course of the time, the Maroon Goons right there, third, fourth quarter, start to try to lean on that Miami defense, like lean on them. And that's not really anything that they've really experienced, Miami, being in the ACC and playing the schedule they have this year, is being in a tight game at the end of the game, and being at the end of the season and being your 13th game and having kind of an offensive line lean on you like that. So, and it's credit to them, like they haven't had anybody close, in a long time since that SMU game. So
Yeah, I mean, and A&M averages 192 on the ground this year,
yeah,
which is ninth in the Power Four. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a stiff. Like, I know what the numbers might say. I believe Florida State is listed actually as a better rush offense by the numbers than A&M. But I just personally think with Marcel Reed's dual threat ability, with the stable of backs that Texas A&M has, and then you couple that with their ability to be explosive in the passing game, their overall ability to be balanced as an offense, makes this rushing offense more dangerous, and like it's going to be the biggest test for
yeah.
this Miami front. And go ahead.
Anytime that Miami is involved, and this is where all the comments are going to come out. I know it. I know the comments are going to be fierce. Anytime Miami's involved, I got to talk coaching matchup. I got to talk Mario Cristobal versus Mike Elko. And this is a big game. It's the biggest game in Mario Cristobal's coaching career.
Yep.
On the road, too. It's just, I wonder, he's even in wins this year against Notre Dame at the beginning of the year, he made some questionable decisions in that fourth quarter that allowed Notre Dame to cut that game and make it a tie game 24-24 in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
It always has to be a question at the front of your mind when you're analyzing a game, when you're handicapping a game for betting purposes. You gotta bring Mario into the equation. Obviously, I think we both think Elko has a leg up on him, right?
Yeah, I do. I do think Elko's a better overall in-game coach than Cristobal. Cristobal's an elite recruiter, great motivator. He does an incredible job of amassing talent. He does an incredible job of building that team at the line of scrimmage and making them like tough and physical. But yeah, he's got some questionable in-game decisions. Like we all know about the stuff that happened against Georgia Tech that game, and there's some deals that happened at Oregon as well. But it's not just those games, man. I mean, the game against SMU this year, the decision to like all of a sudden be conservative and trying to shorten the game against SMU when your team is by far the more superior team. I mean, they were a double-digit favorite in that game. They were playing that game as if they were the underdog, trying to shorten the game as if they didn't have the better athletes. And they should have been trying to go up and down the field and trying to attack SMU the whole time. And SMU should have been the one trying to shorten the game. And that's not how it was. So, yes, he's had some really good moments, and he's done some amazing things at Miami. Like to have Miami in this position and to win double-digit games last year with the team that he's had, again, he's doing a really good job. But I agree with what you're saying, that could it rear its ugly head in a big game like this? It absolutely could.
Yeah.
On the road when things are getting pressured, it absolutely could. If
Yeah.
if you're Miami, if I'm Miami, I'm going in this game and I'm going to try to with my offensive line that is fifth in the Power Four in sacks allowed on the year and third in the country in tackles for a loss on the year. I am going to try to run the football. You're on the road. I'm going to try to run the football, and that's only going to help Carson Beck in the passing game. And then, man, I'm going to take those wide receivers of mine and those athletes of mine. I'm going to cut it loose with Beck. I'm going to run the rock to be able to try to take some pressure off of him. Then I'm going to cut it freaking loose and attack A&M down the field, and also get the ball as quick as you can into Malachi Tony's hands and into those wide receivers' hands to try to let them work in space against that A&M defense. It comes down for me, can Texas A&M, if they can get pressure on Beck, they're going to win this game.
Yeah.
If Miami can keep Beck clean and give him time to work, he's gonna carve him up if they give him time to work. The problem is when Beck hasn't had time. And if A&M with Cassius Howell and that defensive front get pressure on him, I think Miami's going to be in trouble in this game. I just don't think they can sustain that over 4 quarters on the road in College Station and allow that A&M defense, who's so good at getting tackles for a loss and sacking the quarterback, to get pressure. And then on the flip side of that, the matchup between A&M's tackles with Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain is going to be fun to watch, man. I mean, that's going to be a Sunday. That's Sunday matchups. Francis Malagoa, if he's ever matched up with Cassius Howell, which I'm sure he will be some, there's going to be a ton of NFL scouts, man, wanting to watch those specific matchups. Those are NFL first and second round offensive linemen going against NFL first and second round defensive ends in a college football playoff. That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, dudes have a chance to make themselves a lot of money this Saturday in those matchups.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some game picks here. Man, I love me some road teams at noon, right? But that's kind of a regular season thing. This is a playoff. It's a different atmosphere. Um, I'm going to take A&M to win the game. I'm going to take them to cover the game. I know I said it was 3.5. -3 just popped up at DraftKings at -118.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pay the extra, take the -3 in case of a field goal win there. I'll get a push. But I would probably lay 3.5 too. I'm just very confident in the A&M game. I think whenever you have the more questionable head coach and I know both quarterbacks have made questionable decisions over their careers. I just think crazy enough, I think I trust Marcel Reed in this offense more than I trust Carson Beck. And I just think that A&M finds a way to get it done, man. I think they find a way to advance. They get to go to the Cotton Bowl and face off against Ohio State on New Year's Day. So I'm going to take A&M to win the game. I think like 31-24.
31-24.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun game to watch. With the offensive firepower for both of these teams, man,
Yeah.
it won't shock me if we see quite a bit of points scored. The weather's going to be really good in College Station, so weather won't be a factor. It being a noon kickoff. Just some fascinating things, man, that I'm interested to see in this one with how Miami handles that crowd, how they handle the moment in this spot, how Carson Beck, which version of him do we get? Because if we get the good version, he can carve up Texas A&M's defense. And the matchup on the line of scrimmage between these two teams. And again, both of these teams have weapons on the perimeter that are among them. I'm not saying they're the best wide receivers in the country. Those guys belong at Ohio State, but they're among the most explosive in the country. And the numbers say that with Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver at A&M and then Malachi Tony at Miami. So could be a lot of fireworks in this one. No doubt about it. So I don't have a best bet in this game, but if you made me bet it, I would definitely take a look at Texas A&M -3. I would take a look at that with you. I just think, again, the home team in these playoff matchups, it's going to be tough to beat, A&M in College Station. But I actually do think that Miami has the goods to match up well with A&M, with how they are, again, on both sides of the line of scrimmage. It's just, I don't know, against this defensive front. I know Miami played Notre Dame earlier in the year. I know they played Florida and teams like that, but I think you would even agree with me as far as like the talented pass rushers and the ability to get after the quarterback and get pressure behind the line of scrimmage. A&M is among the best in the country. Them and Oklahoma are the two best teams in the country at creating negative plays, tackles for a loss, and sacks. So that Miami offensive front, which I know that's a Cristobal and Coach Mirabal specialized there at Miami in, but dude, I just think this A&M team is going to be able to get pressure on Beck, going to be able to cause some problems, and I think A&M is going to win this game. And it'll be, but again, I'm with you. I think it's going to be around a one possession game, but I don't have a best bet in it as of now.
All right, man. We got to talk about two more games here. We've talked about these offline, but we're gonna make our thoughts public here. So at 3:30 on shafted over to TNT and HBO Max, we've got the number 11 seed Tulane Green Wave at Ole Miss Rebels, number 6 seed, 17.5 point spread. We've already seen this game once this year. It was week 4. It was a 45-10 victory over Ole Miss, or Ole Miss over Tulane.
Can I give you some numbers on that game?
Sure.
Tulane combined for 10 of 29 passing for only 104 yards in that first matchup.
Yep.
Tulane
Sounds
went
right.
6 of 18 combined on third and fourth down. Ole Miss went 7 for 11 on third down. They didn't have any fourth down conversions that they had tried to make. Ole Miss scored on their first 5 offensive possessions, and they scored on 8 of their 10 possessions overall. And Trinidad Chambliss, that was his second start ever at the FBS level, and he had over 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing in that matchup.
Yep. I don't think people realize too. I mean, people obviously in the South and affiliated with these programs realize this is a big rivalry. This is a big rivalry game. They played almost every year from the 1930s to like the 2000s. Ole Miss is 44-28 all time against Tulane. Now they have won 14 in a row. So at one point, this series was 30-28. Tulane fans will call that a rivalry, right? Ole Miss,
Probably.
Ole Miss has won 14 in a row. Only 3 of those 14 games were decided by single digits. Tulane has not won a game against Ole Miss since 1988. Obviously, the big stories here: John Sumrall, Lane Kiffin. They're not going to be the head coaches of these programs. Sumrall is going to be at Florida. Kiffin's going to be at LSU. Sumrall is coaching this game. He'll be on the sidelines, as will most of the Ole Miss staff, just not Lane Kiffin. So how that affects the Rebels, I don't know. It's really hard for me to see a path for Tulane to win this game, much less keep it within 17.
Yeah, the only path they have, man, and this happens with any big upset in college football. Number one, they're going to have to get some extra possessions. They're going to have to force some turnovers. They need Ole Miss to be a little off their game. They need to all of a sudden we look at Ole Miss's offense and maybe they're not the same. I'm not saying this is going to be the case. I'm saying this is what Tulane needs. That Ole Miss's offense isn't as sharp, isn't as good overall without Lane Kiffin, with only Charlie Weiss Jr. Maybe that's not the case at all, but that's what Tulane needs. And obviously, Tulane needs to be able to shorten the game. It's no secret Tulane wants to run the football and they want to play defense. And they've had, out of nowhere, in November down the stretch, a freshman running back, Jamari McClure, the freshman from Alabama, comes out of nowhere and he tore it up in the month of November for the Green Wave, averaging over 7 yards a carry and over 100 yards per game on the ground their last 5 ball games. And I thought it was interesting, too. Jake Retzlaff, quarterback for Tulane, he leads Tulane in rushing. He is second in the team in rushing touchdowns with 16. The next closest is the freshman running back, Javin Gordon, with 5. So that tells you, again, they're not going to throw the football a ton. They're not a great passing team. That's not what they are.
Yeah.
They run the ball and they play defense. They try to play physical with you, which obviously that's a little tougher for Tulane against a high-level Power 4 opponent. But on the coaching aspect of it, interesting is Will Hall, who Tulane named as the next head coach to succeed John Sumrall. He's the current passing game coordinator and like co-offensive coordinator and passing game coordinator for Tulane. So the incumbent head coach after John Sumrall is going to be on the sidelines and coaching like he has been all year. Greg Gasparato is the defensive coordinator for Tulane. He was with Sumrall at Troy when they were just dominating defensively. He actually replaced our boy O'Shea Wood at Troy after that. Gasparato's done a great job at Troy and at Tulane. He's not going with Sumrall to Florida. Sumrall hired Brad White from Kentucky to be the DC at Florida. So Gasparato might be retained as a DC there. So they may actually have like a pretty good group of coaching continuity there for this matchup. Don't have any clue if that means anything or not in this game. The 5 best offenses that Tulane faced this year, Tyler, they gave up 34.5 points per game. That would be against Ole Miss, Duke, UTSA, Memphis, and North Texas. So,
Mhm.
again, things have to flip for Tulane to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see too, like, Summerall, he got nothing to lose in this game, and in Tulane as a whole, he got nothing to lose. Like, Summerall's not coming back. He can call whatever he wants. He can go for on every 4th down. He can call fake punts. He can call onside kicks. He can do fake field goals. I mean, really, that is kind of like the only way that I see them having a path. Like you said, they got to get extra possessions. They got to get a special teams conversion, right? They got to go for it on any time it's 4th and 5 or less. Like, you
Full
got to
send.
try to go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full send in
Yeah.
matchup.
So,
Yeah, they're just too much firepower on this Ole Miss offense, man. I know Kiffin's
yeah.
not gonna be there and whatnot, but I still Charlie Weiss Jr., I imagine, it depends on who you believe and who you don't believe. I do believe the people that do say that has been saying that, Charlie Weiss Jr. does call that offense. Obviously, Kiffin has the right to override or change the calls like on the field. So I don't think there's going to be some major drop off for this
Yeah.
offense. And the firepower that they have and the weapons that they have. I mean, the duo of Owinadad Chambliss and Kewan Lacey is one of the best duos in this college football playoff from a rushing perspective. Kewan Lacey's 6th in the Power 4 in rushing with over 1,200 yards, and he's 1st in rushing touchdowns in the country with 20.
Yeah.
So between him and Chambliss, that's going to be a tough duo to stop. And obviously, we know the weapons that Ole Miss has on the perimeter. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, man. The only path I see for Tulane in this game, they got to muck it up and
Yeah.
make it ugly, and they got to win the turnover battle 3 or 4-0. And like you said, 4th down conversions, just going full send, still in
Yeah.
possessions, uh, keeping the ball away from Ole Miss's offense. Try to get the game to the 4th quarter with this bad boy around 1 possession and see what happens in the 4th quarter. Is the
Yeah.
only path to victory I see for Tulane.
Yeah, nonetheless, I think the Vaught is going to be rocking. It's a playoff game. I know it's against Tulane, but it's going to be excited crowd there. I jumped on it when the first line came out at 16.5 before it crossed over that 17. So it's at 17.5 now. So the first game was 45-10. I don't really know what I've seen from these two teams over the course of the year since that game, the past 2 months, that leads me to believe that that couldn't be the same exact score. I mean, I'd go with maybe a 41-17 type score. I just think, yeah, Ole Miss is too much for them. Got to do something about these G5 teams.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't have a best bet in this game, but we just gave all kinds of different
Yeah,
numbers, analysis, everything. Sometimes, man, it's just as easy as, these two teams have already played. It was a complete beatdown. I
yeah,
don't know what's drastically changed since then. Tulane again against the better offenses that they faced this year, they've really struggled. Uh, I know this is crazy to say because Tulane is the highest ranked G5 team. They did win the American Conference, which is a good G5 conference. But I mean, I would think even John Summerall would tell you this, and probably even some like diehard Tulane fans would tell you this. This Tulane team probably isn't better than some of the teams that Willie Fritz had before
yeah,
Summerall, and maybe even last year's Tulane team, like overall. So yeah, I just think this Ole Miss team is too good. I think that like I agree with you too. The vault is going to be absolutely, as the kids say, lit for that
yeah,
game. They love some good old Petey Golding and Pete Golding, his first game as the head coach there. The kind of the overall just galvanizing effect of the Lane Kiffin stuff. I mean, that fan base will be. It was going to be rocking anyway for a playoff game. It got boosted up way up after all that
yeah.
Lane Kiffin stuff. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah, I think it's a tough spot for the old Green Wave and their beautiful uniforms to go take on Ole Miss in this one. So I'll take Ole Miss
yeah.
to win and cover. It's not a best bet, but yeah, I'm with you. I think they're going to blow the doors off Tulane in this game.
Last game here, 7:30 on TNT at HBO Max. James Madison going on the road to face the Oregon Ducks as 21.5 point underdogs. It's the first ever matchup between the Dukes and the Ducks. Dan Lanning 17-9 against the spread as a home favorite. Again, I'll go ahead and say it, man. And people can get mad. Like, we got to do something about this whole G5 rule, because there's a reason they stuck these G5 games at 3:30 and 7:30. There's a reason they put them on TNT and HBO Max. They're going head to head against Philly and Washington and Green Bay and Chicago in the NFL. It's like, it's just not a great product. But you know what? Us college football sickos will watch it anyways. Um, Bob Chesney's not going to be at JMU next year. He's going to be at UCLA. Will Stein is going to be at Kentucky. Tosh Lupoy is going to be at Cal. So a lot of coaching moves going on here. To me, though, like, again, it's just really hard to see a path for James Madison to keep this one close. I know they played Louisville early in the year. They kept that one close. It was like a 27-14, 28-14 game. They looked really impressive. Everyone was talking about them then. We didn't think it was possible at that time we could really get two G5 teams in. But, like, if the American Conference would falter and JMU runs the table, okay, maybe they get ranked ahead. But their strength of schedule just was not there all year. Oregon obviously has played a much tougher strength of schedule in the Big Ten. They played Indiana, they played Iowa, they played USC, they played Washington. A lot of tough games, a lot of tough opponents. Talk about a stadium that's going to be rocking regardless of who they're playing. It's Autzen Stadium. It's a playoff game. But again, man, like, if this game was in week 3, we wouldn't really talk about this game, right? We'd be like, oh, Oregon's playing JMU. Their non-conference schedule is soft again. Oh well, But JMU, I mean, Bob Chesney, again, it's another coach with nothing to lose.
Yep.
He's not going to be there next year. He might be taking some guys with him from JMU to UCLA. We'll see. So that could get dangerous. But again, you got to win the turnover battle. You got to try to muck it up. I don't know how JMU does that. They got like the 94th ranked pass offense. That defense for Oregon is so sick. Like, it's hard for me to see JMU in this game.
Yeah, man. Yeah, if JMU had some wild passing attack or something like that could maybe cause some problems, I would maybe try to figure out a way to figure out a path for the Dukes in this one. But James Madison, what they want to do, they're a very at the group of 5 level, an extremely physical, hard-nosed, tough football team, and they play like it. They want to run the rock, pound the rock, and play defense. I know that their strength of schedule and the teams that they're playing against, like overall, like their schedule, these numbers I'm about to give you isn't against the top competition, but these are still what the numbers are ranked against other teams totally across the country. James Madison is ranked 5th in the country in rushing, and they've ran the ball 63% of their snaps, which is among the most in this 12-team playoff. They're ranked 2nd in the country in rush defense, 12th in pass defense, 10th in points allowed. So, again, they want to run the football and play defense. Running back Wayne Knight, has over 1,200 yards rushing and he's at 6.5 yards per carry on the year. He also leads them in catches. The running back leads them in catches.
Yeah.
And Alonzo Barnett is a 2-year starter at quarterback for the Dukes. 21 touchdowns through the air. He's got 14 on the ground. So, again, dual threat guy. They want to run the football. He's got 115 carries himself on the year. So here's the problem with all of that. Oregon's defense is 7th in the entire country in points allowed. We know what type of schedule they're playing against. They're top 20 rush D, and they're 3rd ranked pass D. So that's what JMU does best. Oregon stops that.
Yeah,
and that's just that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough to deal with, man. And then also, too, again, James Madison's defense is for real. They're not just for, by the way, JMU's defense is not just for real for a group of 5 team. Their defense is better than probably half of teams in some of these power conferences that are absolutely just booty on defense. But the problem, again, this Ducks team, and this is a really good Oregon team that I'm going to keep pounding the table. I tweeted it out from our Twitter at Always Talk Ball. That can I interest anybody in the Oregon Ducks at plus 800 to win the national championship, because wide receivers DeCorian Moore, who was the number 1 wide receiver in the country coming out of high school last year out of Duncanville, Texas. He's been injured for the last several weeks. He is practicing. Looks like he might be back. Gary Bryant Jr., another really good wide receiver for them, has been injured. He's practicing. Looks like he might be back. Don't know if they'll be back for this game. That's still questionable. But it looks like they're about to be playing for a playoff run here. And then another guy that has resurfaced that before the season when he got hurt people thought he might be playing this year. And if they made a playoff, they said there's a chance he could play. Evan Stewart, the transfer from Texas A&M, one of their best wide receivers last year, is practicing right now. And so he might be giving it a go here in the playoffs. We don't know that yet. But Oregon is as balanced as any team in college football. They average 247 passing yards a game and 219 rushing yards a game, which is good for being 10th in the Power Four in total offense. Yep. So it's just going to, by the way, I don't see a path for James Madison in this game. Even if Oregon loses the turnover battle, I just think that makes it to where the game's just closer. I don't think that James Madison is going to be able to hold up for much at all against this bunch. I mean, Oregon's got 3 tailbacks that are all 3 really good. Their passing game, again, the balance on offense, their ability on defense. I think Oregon wins this game and they blow the doors off James Madison. I think they win this game 24-28 plus.
Yeah. This is another game where I got it minus 20.5 before it crossed over the 21, which is a 21.5 now. So I went ahead and bet that. This might alienate and might, piss off some of our listeners that are G5 lovers, but like Ole Miss and Oregon here, we talk about brand new season and creating momentum like Ohio State did last year. They've got a real chance here as the 5 and 6 seeds, again, who were 5 and 6 seeds were in good shape last year. 5 and 6 seeds playing these teams, jumping out to early leads, really catching some momentum, catching some fire, possibly resting some of those guys who were coming back from injury in the second half. And, I'll go ahead and say it. I'll say it publicly. I don't care. I hope Ole Miss and Oregon beat these teams by 75 each. I do. I'll just say it right now. Like one G5 team, okay, I can live with that. But like having 2 G5 teams, like I hope Oregon absolutely blows the doors off of JMU. And I think they could, man. Like I've seen what Oregon has done to teams in non-conference games at the beginning of the year. I don't think this is going to be like some, 13 versus 4 in the first round of March Madness or something like that. I saw Oregon this year play an actual power conference team in Oklahoma State, albeit they're awful. They're worse than James Madison. They beat them 69-3 at home. And so I just think, I just don't see a path here at all for James Madison. I'm going to say 52-10, Oregon just off the wall, 52-10, Oregon over JMU.
Yeah, I've got a best bet in this game. I've got Oregon minus 21. I mean, to me, James Madison keeping this game somewhat respectable is 38-10.
Yeah.
That's a cover.
Yeah.
I mean, 34-10 is still a cover. Yeah. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be Oregon's going to get in the 40s. I can't see James Madison scoring more than 14 in this game. And to your point a second ago, dude, if we've got listeners that don't want to come back and listen because of that, that's fine. I would rather you be honest and us always be honest and just tell it like it is, how we feel, and be authentic, as opposed to listening to some other show and they try to like sell you sunshines and rainbows that James Madison is going to take that stone and sling it and hit Goliath in the head with it in this game. Like, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen in this game. And if it does, we will be the first ones to come on here and say and eat crow and say that we were wrong. I don't think we're going to be wrong on that one. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Oregon's going to blow the doors off of them.
The point is in March Madness, you got 67 games you got to watch, right?
Yeah.
We got 11 of these games left, and we don't want to spend 2 of them watching Ole Miss beat the brains out of Tulane and Oregon clap JMU's cheeks.
Yep.
So that's all we're asking. If the group of 5 guys or, other guys out there get all upset about that, then it is what it is. But finishing out here, best bets, I had A&M minus 3. I had Ole Miss minus 16.5 and Oregon minus 20.5. Lean, if you want me to pick the other game, I'd lean the under in that Alabama-Oklahoma game. So you got any best bets?
You mentioned Oregon there. Lean, bro. You love a good lean. But I've got Alabama money line. It was minus 115 is what I got it at. So Alabama money line minus 115 to win in Norman against Oklahoma. I've got Oregon minus 21 to cover against James Madison. And then I've got, the legal sports betting that has happened in the state of Missouri now with FanDuel and DraftKings. You weren't kidding, man, on some of these interesting profit.
Let's hear it.
Profit boosts and parlays that you can do. So I'm going to do a little fun first round of the college football playoff parlay.
Okay.
And so I'm moving the lines on them to change the odds. So we'll start with Friday night. I'm going
Little teaser.
do what?
Little teaser.
Basically, it's a parlay though. It's actually a parlay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going Oklahoma and Alabama under 49.5. I'm going Texas A&M plus 7.5. Move the line
Gosh,
for A&M.
you love crossing through zero.
I love it. A&M plus 7.5. And the next game is the
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss minus 6.5. And then I'm taking Oregon minus 13.5. And all of those paired together gives me plus 160 odds.
Okay.
So
With the profit boost?
no, not even with a
Okay.
profit boost.
Okay.
So if I profit boost it, which I probably will, it'll give me
Yeah.
even more, probably like around plus 200, plus 195, something like that. But yeah, plus 160 odds. So I'll go one more time. I'll go through it. It's under 49 in the Alabama Oklahoma game. It is A&M plus 7.5 against Miami. It is Ole Miss minus 6.5 against Tulane, and it's Oregon minus 13.5 against James Madison. All of those together at plus 160 odds. And then Alabama money line in their game against Oklahoma, and Oregon minus 21 in their game against James Madison. Just straight bets in those games.
Good deal, man. I love it. Hope you guys enjoyed our preview here. Obviously, we talked, a couple games a little more at length. All the timestamps are in the description here, all the episode description. So we appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back at some point to recap this. I know we got Christmas stuff going on next week and all that stuff with the family and everything. So we'll find some time. We don't really have a set schedule right now. We'll find some time to get back, maybe talk about these games. If we don't, we'll just kind of go right into the preview for the quarterfinal matchups on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So we'll be up in the air. We'll keep you updated. Follow us on our X, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll keep you updated there. Again, subscribe to YouTube, like the video, subscribe on Apple and Spotify. Follow us. We really appreciate it. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.